because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true.
Knowing that audio was probably going to come out along with additional tapes, whether they be video or audio is unclear at this particular moment in time, Shannon Sharpe felt compelled to come out in his own defense.
Stay in shape. Did you see him at Washington? Did you see him at Washington?
The man on the team.
What are you talking about? Don't do that. Don't do that.
This is blasphemy.
Don't do that.
Just when you thought things couldn't get any messier in this whole Shannon Sharpe situation, Mace decided to stir the pot even more by calling out Stephen A. Smith for being a fake and having double standards. So here's the rundown. After news broke about Shannon's lawsuit drama, Stephen A. went on air and basically said he can't defend or accuse Shannon because he doesn't know all the facts. But Mace wasn't feeling it, and he pointed out that Stephen had no problem defending Jay-Z when he was under fire, even though he didn't know the facts then either.
Telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us.
So why the double standard? Why was it ride or die for Jay-Z, but I don't know the details for Shannon? Well, people on social media are saying this beef might go back further, back when Shannon didn't back Stephen publicly during that whole LeBron situation. Ever since then, some folks think Stephen's been low-key waiting for a moment to get his licks back. And this lawsuit against Shannon gave him the perfect excuse to be petty. But let's break down exactly what Mace said, the timeline of the drama, and what this means for Shannon, because it looks like all the masks are starting to come off.
Wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know.
So Shannon Sharpe just lost his spot at ESPN, and things aren't looking too good for him right now. ESPN is mostly owned by Disney, so when all this drama started coming out about Shannon, the lawsuit from a girl Shannon started messing with when she was a teenager, the freaky texts, and those wild claims about race play, Disney wasted no time backing away from Shannon. Shannon probably thought he could keep it quiet, but when it's stuff this serious, especially involving both alleged SA and race, it becomes a full-blown PR disaster. Now, on April 24th, Shannon dropped a statement saying he was the one stepping back from ESPN temporarily, and he also claimed that he plans to come back when the NFL season kicks off. But while Shannon's out here acting like he chose to leave ESPN, actual sources at ESPN are saying that's not really the case. According to people inside ESPN, Shannon didn't just step back, he got pushed out. The network allegedly let him save face and make it seem like it was his own call. But behind closed doors, they were completely done with him. And now insiders are saying Shannon is basically banned from ESPN for good, and the network wants nothing to do with him anymore. Now here comes Stephen A. Smith jumping into the mix. Stephen went on his show acting like he was all worried about Shannon. He gave this long talk about how he feels bad and how it's sad what Shannon's dealing with. But if you really listen closely, it kind of sounded like Stephen was already talking about Shannon's career like it's over.
It's a sad situation. Shannon Sharpe is somebody I work with a couple of days a week. Shannon Sharpe is somebody that I brought to ESPN. Though this podcast, this YouTube show is owned and operated by me solely, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be dismissive of ESPN, who employs me in my daytime job on First Take. So I sit here before you today letting you know that they are aware that this is a subject that I was going to broach, because I owe them that courtesy. The executive producer of First Take on ESPN. I recruited Shannon. I went and got him and brought him to ESPN. But I'm not the boss. Those are other folks. There are layers to this, and there are certain layers even I am not on. I can tell you, I also spoke to co-chairman of Disney, the boss, Jimmy Pitaro, who made it very, very clear we are taking this matter very seriously, and we are looking into this very, very closely. In my perfect world, he moves on. and somehow, some way, we find this all to be false. But it doesn't seem like that's the way things are about to go down, considering who Mr. Busby is and how emphatic his client is proclaiming that she is right and she's telling the truth. I have no idea what direction ESPN and Walt Disney will go in when it comes to this matter. All I do know is it won't be me making a decision. It'll be others upstairs. In the end, all of us have someone to answer to. No matter how maverick we try to be, and we own our own business, and we're our sole proprietors like I am on this platform and stuff like that. There are advertisers, there are sponsors, there are people you do business with, there are partners, and there are bosses. That's the situation, unfortunately, that Shannon Sharpe finds himself in at this particular moment in time.
Now, Stephen claimed he wishes all the best for Shannon and hopes the allegations are not true. However, he made it a point to add that he can't give his judgment on Shannon's innocence because he wasn't there when the alleged incident happened and he knows nothing about Shannon's accuser.
So all I can speak to about is what I know based on the reports, and I can speak about ESPN and Disney. Number one, I was not there. I can provide no eyewitness account. And even though I got love and respect for Shannon Sharpe, and I'm sincerely hopeful and prayerful that he is completely innocent of the allegations that have been levied against him, I can't sit here and speak to his innocence or guilt from a knowledgeable place because I have nothing to do with this. I haven't seen anything. I don't know anything. I don't even know this person.
But Stephen didn't leave it at that. After the news came out that Shannon was stepping away from ESPN, Stephen brought it up again, and he kept saying how Disney takes their image really seriously, and once they think you're a problem, there's no fixing it. And Stephen even suggested that Shannon posting those texts from the OnlyFans girl made things worse because just seeing those messages was enough for Disney and ESPN to cut ties with him.
This three-time Super Bowl champion and this Hall of Famer who emphatically stated to me over the phone how innocent he is of these allegations that have been levied against him, insisting repeatedly that anything you read, anything you see, anything you hear was fully and totally consensual. In the same breath, what's inescapable is that without us knowing all the merits, he was working with Disney, where I've worked since 2003, excluding my departure from 2009 to 2011, when I was gone for those 2 years. Outside of that, I've been at Disney since October of 2003. I know this place. I know the worldwide leader that is ESPN, who's under the umbrella of Disney. And it wasn't difficult for me to figure out what was transpiring. As I sit here before you today, they didn't need any definitive evidence at this particular moment in time about all of that stuff. Once all the things Shannon Sharpe's lawyer put out there. It was uncomfortable to listen to, and it was not something that Walt Disney once associated with its brand. So to have him on the airwaves while all of that stuff was put out there was not something that Disney was going to take. That is what I mean when I say.
Stephen also low-key threw shade at Shannon for being reckless at his grown age and walking around like he was untouchable. Now, Stephen tried to act like he wasn't aiming his comments at Shannon, saying he was talking about people in general who think they can do whatever they want without consequences. But let's be real. He was talking about Shannon, and everything he said fits what Shannon's going through right now.
I want to walk around thinking you can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You could your own operation. You don't have to answer to anybody. That's not true. I've had people opened their mouth. And they've said, Stephen A., you work for ESPN. What kind of control do you really have? This is my podcast. This is my YouTube show. I own this. But if you think for 1 second that I could just do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and there's not going to be any repercussions, you're clueless. And you're destined to fail and fall on your face. Some people sit up there and they look at me and they say, Stephen A. don't get himself in this kind of trouble. How does he pull it off? Well, first of all, there's certain behaviors and proclivities that you never have to worry about me engaging in. But most importantly than that, I often say this about Walt Disney. I'd rather work for a place with standards than one looking for them.
And while fans are not feeling sorry for Shannon in this situation, after all, no one forced him to mess with a 19-year-old OnlyFans worker. They were also quick to call out Stephen A.'s double standards. And honestly, they have a point. When Shannon got hit with his lawsuit, Stephen played it safe, saying he didn't know the facts and couldn't defend or accuse anyone. But people on social media were quick to remind everyone that Stephen didn't have that same energy when Jay-Z or Dana White were accused. One fan said, "Ain't nobody asked Stephen A. this question. This is the moment he's been waiting for to prove he's better than Shannon Sharpe. He's giving frenemy and likely asked Shannon to join him on ESPN. Because if you can't beat him, join him." Notice his response to Jay-Z essay with minor allegations in Shannon. And then someone else added, Stephen A. also absolutely no smoke for Dana White for slapping up his wife. Now let's not forget, Jay-Z was hit with a serious allegation from a Jane Doe who was also being represented by the same lawyer, Tony Busby. And yet Stephen had no problem jumping on air and riding hard for Jay, swearing up and down that there's no way Jay-Z could have done what he was being accused of. He didn't wait for facts back then. He didn't say, let's not rush to judgment. He immediately called the whole thing bogus and stood by Jay.
Jay-Z and Sean Diddy Combs, a 13-year-old girl more than 20 years ago, after an awards show after party. I am not going to sit here and dismiss or excoriate Mr. Busby or his client, who's anonymous at this particular moment in time, and the allegations that she has leveled against Jay-Z. I'm telling you, I've known this man for 25 years. And I'm saying for me, Stephen A. Smith, there is no way in hell I believe this about him. Anybody that's been around Jay-Z and knows him has seen him come to the defense of the most helpless amongst us, which are the children. I can't believe for 1 second that he would ever be associated with an allegation like this. And I felt it was important to bring that up because you got people out there. Stephen A., you have something to say about Diddy. Why aren't you going to have something to say about Jay-Z? Well, I don't know Diddy.
But here's the thing. What a lot of people fail to mention when talking about this Jay-Z situation is that he did manage to get the lawsuit dismissed. But the alleged victim, who by the way is autistic, never withdrew her allegations. In fact, she hinted that she was intimidated and practically forced to give up on the lawsuit after Jay allegedly sent private investigators to her home. Just last month, Jane Doe said that she still stands by her allegations and claimed Jay's private investigators manipulated her statements in a recorded conversation. And Jay-Z's legal team previously released an audio clip where the woman accusing him sounds like she's backing away from her original claim that he raped her. But according to court papers obtained by TMZ, Jane Doe claimed that the recording doesn't tell the full story and that she was pressured into it. According to Jane Doe's filing, 2 private investigators, Charlotte Henderson and James Butler, showed up at her place in Alabama without any warning. And during their talk, she says she trembled the entire time and was not calm, natural, or at ease like the investigators later described. Jane Doe also pushed back on what they said she told them, that Jay-Z had nothing to do with the grape. She claims that that's just not true and that she never once said Jay didn't grape her. In fact, she's standing by her original claim that the incident happened after the 2000 MTV VMAs in New York. But despite all this, Stephen A. still defended Jay-Z and claimed he knows for a fact that Jay is not capable of harming anyone, especially someone that young. But Stephen A. didn't keep the same energy for Shannon. And while obviously these two cases are completely different, a lot of people felt like Stephen was being shady. And that includes Mace, who also called out Stephen A. on his podcast, pointing out that Stephen A. didn't know the facts about the Jay-Z case either, and yet he still rushed to defend him.
And all I saw really was the interview with Stephen A. when he was speaking of it. And I was watching it very carefully, Killer.
Stephen A. said something about this already?
Yeah, because Stephen A., he didn't stand with Shannon Sharpe like he stood with Jay-Z. When he heard about Jay-Z, he said, the guy I know, this is not true. When it came to Shannon, he was like, I wasn't there.
Yo,
in a nutshell, yeah.
I gotta keep it static, you know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't there for Jay-Z neither. You wasn't there for Jay-Z. You were not there for Jay-Z, but you went out on a limb because of the character of guy you know. So I'm not saying that you're wrong for that. I'm saying I would have thought that the same standard would be there, right? If for a guy you work with every day. Well, not every day, but, you know.
Damn near.
And I'm not taking a shot at Stephen A. It's just an observation.
It does sound like you was taking shots at Stephen A. From what you said, I didn't see Stephen A. shit, but what I'm gathering, what you said from Stephen A. said, he basically said, I don't know like that.
Well, I ain't putting my hundreds of millions on the line for him.
Yeah, he like, no, I want to hire the nigga. He a little freaky. I don't really know the well, so whatever happened or whatever happens. I already know Stephen A. He one of them people like, this is going to interfere with me. I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, Stephen A. is corporate.
He said, I recruited Shannon, but I'm not the boss. Basically, the other higher-ups have to deal with it. That's what he said, verbatim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, basically.
Is that throwing him under the bus?
And it looks like a lot of people online are saying Mace has a point, and they're accusing Stephen A. of being a fake friend and having double standards. Someone wrote, Stephen A. went so hard on Jay-Z's industry friends for not speaking up and defending Jay, despite not having any evidence to his innocence or guilt. He just said they should all vouch for his character regardless. With Shannon, he's distancing himself hard AF. Folks are now also questioning if Stephen's just being petty, especially since some speculate this might all trace back to the LeBron situation. When Shannon didn't publicly back Stephen over his comments about LeBron, fans think that might have sparked some tension between the two. And now with Shannon in a tough spot, some are wondering if Stephen is low-key enjoying seeing Shannon struggle because of their past animosity. One fan said, I kind of figured Stephen A. would after Shannon didn't have his back with the LeBron situation. But let me know how you feel about Stephen A. low-key throwing Shannon under the bus. Do you think he's just doing his job and being objective, or do you agree with Mace about Stephen A. having double standards, especially with the way he jumped to Jay-Z's defense? Leave your thoughts in the comments and stick around for this next video.